Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another 180 Shift podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to introduce our lovely guest that we'll be having on today. She's a Mexican-American actress, producer, director, as well as a news anchor, reporter, and as well as a community activist. She was awarded the 2016 President Obama White House Community Award. She's also a loving philanthropist who is recognized with the Woman of the Year 2016 Philanthropist Award for her dedication to children with autism. She was also a celebrity coordinator for the 50th anniversary of the Pacoima Christmas Parade. And without further ado, let's roll the intro.
Which camera do I look in? That one.
Hey everyone, thank you so much. And as you probably heard from our intro, this woman is spectacular. I could go on and on about the list, but without further ado, here is Gina. So Gina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for inviting me. You guys invited me last year, and I was just like very, very busy. And it was a very busy time. We were trying to wrap up helping the Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign, and then we also had to help him with the MAHA movement. And so now everything's settled. He was confirmed, and he's in a very good position. He is where he needs to be so that he can help our people. And so here I am, and thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
No, we're so thankful to have you on. I know we've been waiting for this moment. So without further ado, Tara, the boba.
Yes, I'm Tara, and we are going to drink boba now because Gen Zers like boba. So grab your boba. You can shake it up. And then you can even pick it up and just, bam.
There we go.
That's a little trick. Yep.
Yay!
Have you ever had boba before?
One time, and this is going to be the second time.
Okay. It
Nice.
is a bit of a choking hazard, so be careful.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. I'm ready for it. 100%. Ready, set, go.
Yes. Yes. No, I know. They have so many boba places on college campuses
Delicious,
and stuff like that.
delicious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're
Thank
welcome
you.
so much. And yeah, boba's so much fun. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Without further ado, I think we should just get into knowing who you are. Mm-hmm. I know that I covered a lot in our intro, but let's dig into that. So I wanted to get started with just seeing, you have a lot of things on your plate. You did accomplish a lot, and you're still accomplishing a lot. But what did little you want to do when you grew up?
Oh my goodness! Funny how you ask this. It's a simple question, but I'll give it a shot. I originally wanted to be an actress. I went to school to act, because I come from a family that has a history of acting. My aunt is the international actress, Mexican actress, Maria Felix. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to act. But I also come from a very conservative, large family, okay? Mm-hmm. And I was in school, and I was flunking school. I mean, I was doing great in all the classics except math. I was horrible in algebra. I was horrible. And so I was flunking class, and then a teacher said, you know what, if you don't take extra classes, you're going to flunk. And I can just hear, the 19 voices of my family members, I just, they're very strict and very conservative. And so I ended up taking, these extra classes, and they gave me a choice of Chicano studies, cooking, and journalism. I don't know how to cook. And Chicano, I don't know either. So I was like, okay, I'll take journalism. Okay. So I took journalism, and I went to back then it was Channel 52. It was called Telemundo, and it was barely starting. I mean, it was, now it's like huge, but it was barely starting. So I'm considered, the pioneer journalist of Telemundo Channel 52. And so I went there and I applied and I turned in my transcript and I went to the interview and I got accepted. So I get there and the very first day, and they put me to prepare coffee. I was the gopher.
No.
Yeah, I was the gopher of Channel 52. I was preparing coffee, and not only that, since I know how to cook, I was burning the coffee.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so so one day, a journalist. I'm not going to say who it was, but because I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but a journalist didn't show up to work, and they were scrambling. The news director was scrambling. Oh, who are we going to get? Who are we going to get? There were only 2 young people back then. That was my age, and the son of the news director. And the son of the news director said, "Well, send Gina." I was like, me? I didn't even know how to drive. I didn't have a driver's license. I was like, and then, but I heard, in the back of my head, the voices, of your parents, of you better, I come from a very strict family. So I said, okay, I'll go. But I didn't know how to drive. So, because I'll be honest with you, I had a chauffeur taking me to Telemundo, to this news station, and, because I didn't know how to drive. But I had to prove to my family that I could do it. And so it was the son of the news director and myself, and we got into a little truck. And back then, there isn't any budget, okay? We didn't have any budget. So can you imagine a clunkety truck driving all the way to Bakersfield? I mean, all the way over there. And we get there, and guess who I interviewed?
Who?
Cesar Chavez.
Wow.
Cesar Chavez was my first interview. And it was the story back then was about the farm workers because they were getting paid 25 cents a strawberry. Okay. So I get there and I was able to get the interview. Cesar Chavez said, I know who you are. I know who your family is. But you see those people out there? Because there were people picking, the crops, and they were working in the sun. He said, see those people out there? Those are your people. Do whatever you can to help your people. And that's what I've been doing ever since, helping my people.
Wow, that's such an inspirational story, I think that's very interesting and wise. But, okay, so you mentioned your tia, Maria Felix, right?
Yeah.
She was a beautiful, beautiful actress.
Thank you.
She was in a golden era of Mexican television, of film. And, I think we have a picture that's beautiful. For those of you who are not watching, you're listening to us, we do have a picture up. So if you do want to, you can head over to YouTube. But yeah, she was I know that it's her birthday today, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's interesting, I find it very, I don't know, there's a message somewhere. I'll figure it out sometime today. But she did pass away on April 8th. She was 88 years old. And today is April 8th.
Right.
Hello.
Wow. It must point to something. I'm sure you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But what was it like growing up? I mean, I think you kind of pointed to this, but I mean, she inspired you to want to become an actor, right?
Well, the one thing that she really helped me with, like seriously, back in the day, I was getting bullied because I would stutter. Okay. And so she taught me how to defend myself because I didn't know how to defend myself. Okay. And so even to this day, or during a job or if I'm, whatever it is, I focus, and she taught me how to focus and how to be able to, express myself, like the way I'm supposed to, but in an elegant way.
Wow.
Okay. And also another thing that she said, make sure that you get dressed nice. If you're going out on the street, even if you're going grocery shopping, put on some lipstick, don't go out there with the ponytail and hanging. No. Even if it's grocery shopping, get dressed nice to go grocery shopping. But she did help me. She taught me how to defend myself because I was really getting bullied because of my stuttering.
Wow. You know what? I think that's very interesting. Her choice of, I love that she was teaching you how to defend yourself, but very interestingly enough, you brought up the fact that she said to dress up when you go out. I think that's very different from our generation, right, Tara? Like, I think we all, I've been guilty of it myself, of not dressing up even just to go out, but that's such an interesting way of looking at things.
We don't even dress up when we like post a video on TikTok.
That's true. And the entire world is listening to us, right? It's something so interesting. But I wanted to know, so what about the journalism class that you took really sparked or ignited that fuel within you to continue and pursue that?
The need for true journalism, because I learned and I worked with real journalists, investigative journalists, and there is a difference. Right now we have just paparazzi. Investigative journalists is you do your work, and when you're looking at the camera, okay, if you know their story, you don't have to look at a teleprompter. You already know because you wrote the story, you did the story, you investigated, and so you know. Okay, and that's what I decided to focus on. Investigative journalism. Okay, and it worked, and there's a need for real journalism. Okay, the facts. The facts, because nowadays, everything is it's different.
Yeah, I think that today, the news has been on sort of blast lately. We've had our president who has spoken out against news organizations. We've heard him say the words fake news, right? So I wanted to know your opinion on that.
I don't like fake news. If you're going to be talking about something, stick to the facts. Because you're not helping people. You have to give them the correct information, or else people need to understand there's a difference between being a paparazzi and being a journalist. Okay, and then people are not stupid. If you're telling them something and they know that it's not true, come on.
Right. And do you think today's journalists, how they're being taught and brought up today, is very different than what you learned?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
What are some of the things?
The difference is that you've got to do the work. You've got if you can't just if somebody tells you this happened and this happened, okay, thank you very much. But then you go and you do your research. You go to the library. You do your work, because what you say and what comes out on TV, people will listen to you. Okay, especially if you speak the truth.
Yeah,
with facts.
Yeah,
it's so interesting. So a friend of mine, she texted me this entire opinion about Trump's tariffs and, just this whole thing, this opinion about it. And she had claimed that all of her facts and data just came from tweets from Trump. And I think a lot of us, it resonated with me because I think a lot of us are just in that position where it's like, we're just going to Twitter, we're going to influencers, we're going to a lot of just celebrities looking for the news. And I myself feel pretty vulnerable. I absolutely go and try to find the data and the truth as much as I can. But it becomes pretty confusing when two celebrities that I like and I follow are showing me data that completely contradicts the other one, So what's your perspective on that?
You've got to follow your instinct. If that little voice inside you said something's not adding up, it's because it's not adding up. And by the way, I want to tell both of you, I'm very proud of both of you. You guys are up-and-coming journalists.
Oh, thank you.
Okay? Because how old are you?
24.
How old are you?
19.
Hello. You guys are in a position, okay, to educate your fellow Gen Zers. Okay? And you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And I'm very proud of you guys.
Thank you so much,
you.
Gina.
I appreciate that.
I think that since I've known you, I kind of look up to you. I think it's so inspirational, your story, and just being a journalist, or a true journalist. And I know we were talking a little earlier, something that is also happening in our news media is what's affecting the Latino community. We see a lot of the news today. I told you this earlier, but my grandmother, she'll tell me, she'll come up to me and say something so crazy, and I'm like, where'd you hear that? And she says, "La noticias," and for those of you, that's the news. So I want to know where is that disconnect? What is happening to the Latino community through media?
First of all, not all the Spanish news is fair news. Okay, and they don't. How can I put it in a very diplomatic way? They don't explain it to the viewers in a fair and balanced way. It's always one-sided. Okay, and that's insulting because you cannot dumb down your audience. Okay, you've got to stick to the facts. Okay, and there's a lot of stations in Spanish that don't explain like real facts. Okay, and I think we need more Spanish news outlets with fair and balanced stories, not just one-sided.
Right. Yeah, telling both sides, and that's so important. I think especially for people who are particular one side or the other, they prefer listening to that type of news, but it's always great to reach out to the other side and understand what their opinion is, because sometimes there's something in the middle that overlaps and you can see the truth.
I also just have one thing about AI and how I find myself turning to like Grok or ChatGPT when I really I want to find quick data. And what's your perspective on that? And because I know a bit about how AI was discovered, I feel that it's somewhat trustworthy, because it's not necessarily biased. But what's your perspective?
No, you've got to do your work. Yeah. Don't rely on AI. Do your work, okay? You're relying on something instead of your own work. You've got to do the work. You go to the library. Go do your research. Get a piece of paper. Just do the work. Right now everybody's looking, to something quick. I don't have time. AI. I don't know. No, do the work, and then you're gonna realize you're gonna feel better because you did that work, and you're gonna say, or you're gonna speak with more emphasis. You know what? I know what I'm talking about because I did the work.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like in like all areas of life, specifically. Today, I'm going through college, so you see that often. People will turn to AI for like different quick things, and specifically for their research. I've seen oftentimes when I have to write a paper or other things, there's always the professors that are like, I don't want to have to say something about AI because that always comes up. But you know what? I just wanted to jump back real quick to the Latino community and the news there, the news outlets. I just wanted to know, why do you think that the media is, I guess, dumbing down their news to the Spanish-speaking community?
Well, I think it's insulting because they shouldn't, these Spanish stations, they shouldn't just be showing telenovelas. Okay, we've got some pretty, educated, Hispanics. We want to know about economy. We want to know about health. We want. They should not be airing 24/7 telenovelas. I mean, like seriously. Okay, and so I'm hoping maybe you guys are up and coming. You guys can be the future anchors. With real news. Hopefully. Okay? And we need more of that. Because if we continue showing, telenovelas, it keeps us Latinos inside a box. And that's not a good box.
Do you think it's done on purpose?
I think so. I think so, but it'll change eventually because there's a new generation. There's a new movement, And things are changing. As a matter of fact, I wanted to share with you guys something that I found very interesting. And excuse me if I put on my glasses because, when you get to a certain age, you can't see. But look, I found this interesting, and I wanted to share with you guys two articles that I read. In Fortune magazine, the article says, millennials are set to become the richest generation on record, thanks to the $84 trillion wealth transfer from their baby boomer parents and grandparents. That's like, wow. And then an article from Bank of America, it said, Gen Z may not be able to afford a house or a cost of living now, but in 10 years they will gain $36 trillion and become the richest generation. They are not shy about splurging, but they will become the largest and the richest economic force in 2035.
Is that only through inheritance, or is that talking about just in general?
Well, in general. I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, I've definitely heard stuff like, with the housing crisis, and so many millennials right now are like, we can't even afford a house, and live the American dream. But it's like, with like when baby boomers start to pass away, it's like, the properties are just going to start opening up or being inherited, to like the younger generation.
That's why I'm saying you guys are in a position where you guys are up and coming.
Yeah.
And you're almost there. Good example for everybody.
I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, too, because there's so much mental health problems with our age group. It's not even funny, honestly.
No, I know.
I mean, it's
I understand, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes from, like, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be able to provide for myself? Am I ever going to have a family? I think a lot of them have just tapped out of that and just said, I'm just going to be, alternative lifestyle type stuff. No family, none of that. But it's sad, and I think that we need more messages like that because that's extremely hopeful. And it's just that's why I look to God so much, because it's like, oh, I will be provided for. I don't need to worry about tomorrow and be anxious and drive myself crazy.
No. You guys are on the right track. You guys are on the right track. I'm very, like I told you, and I can't even stress to you how proud I am of you guys. And also I want to tell your audience that your mommy, okay, so that people know, is Catherine Zavala. She is the great-great-great-grandniece of the 51st president of Mexico, Lázaro Cárdenas. That's a huge deal for us Mexicans. Yeah. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's how can I put it? It's so it's a big deal for us Latinos.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? I think that having that in my heritage is definitely. I didn't think that it would matter so much to know that my great whatever how many is what or was the president of Mexico, because that's a big part of my history, and that's something that I remember growing up. They would show a movie every once in a while that we had of him. But I didn't think that would come full circle at one point.
Yep, so. Exactly. And that's why, I want to pass the baton to you guys, okay, from a journalist to you guys, because you guys have the power, okay, of being able to give solid, truthful information, okay? And that's important nowadays, You asked me about, my line of work as far as volunteer work and stuff. That's the reason why I do it, because we need more leaders in this country. Okay, and what I mean about leaders that really are honest and they help other people. Okay, I decided to help Bobby Kennedy. I know the Kennedy since 1991. And so it was very natural for me to help Bobby in his when he decided to run for president of the United States. I helped him gather the Latino community. Okay, I'm in a power where I know I can do it. So I know for a fact that I was able to help. Okay, because I'm helping my people. Okay, and I knew that he was the right person. Okay, then he decided to endorse Trump, and so we helped him with that movement, to support Trump. And then finally he was confirmed. Okay, he's now in a very good position where he can help all of us. Not only the Latino community but everyone, because he has a good heart and he has integrity. And I have today invited a lot of volunteers, because in a campaign, doesn't matter if it's a presidential campaign or if it's a campaign for city council. These candidates, they depend 100% on the volunteers.
That's right.
And if it weren't for the grassroots volunteers, nothing would get done, okay? And, these are volunteers. They all have their own lives, they have their own families, but yet, they went all out and they helped Bobby. And so it's only fair, because I know that in some campaigns, these candidates, they don't thank the grassroots people, but there's a lot that helped Bobby, okay? I don't have time to mention all of them, but I do have some here in the audience that I'm going to mention, okay? Tony Enchef, Marisol, she's a sweetheart, Marisol Paez, from Team Kennedy, Los Angeles. Heather Lenore, she's the Orange County co-captain for Kennedy. And then there's just so many, and John, who is also here, and he's from Laguna Beach, and there's just so many volunteers who believed in Bobby, and it's only fair that I mention them, because if it weren't for them, nothing would have gotten done. Okay, and right now I'm focusing on a mini documentary. Where I'm going to include the rest of the other volunteers, because there's volunteers from Texas, volunteers from San Diego. Grassroots volunteers that believed in him no matter what. And it's only fair that they be recognized.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so. I think that oftentimes the grassroots volunteers are just so instrumental in whether or not a candidate wins. I remember my very first dip into the water, going into politics, and just all this whole entire sphere was I volunteered for a local candidate who was running for, I think, Congress at the time. And I remember it was delivering flyers to each door in the summer heat, and it was insane. So I have so much respect for these volunteers, because that's hard work, very hard work, and time dedicated to that. So honestly, props to all those volunteers who did that, because that's a lot. I know that, it's interesting that you mentioned Kennedy. Kennedy was a very, he signified, I think, a movement in a lot of ways, because he first started out as a Democrat, and then he switched to independent, and that was an entire shift, because there was a lot of people who supported him. Interestingly enough, a lot of my friends liked him. I think that he was very popular amongst the young generation, because he was somebody new and different.
Well, interesting enough, I participated from the very beginning of the campaign, from the very beginning, and I was the one that also helped him with when he tried to run as a Democrat, and when we were able to collect the signatures, I went to an undisclosed area, because we had security. Right. Nobody can know exactly what we were doing, where we, because of security. And I was the one that helped with the counting of the signatures and making sure that each signature, when you turn in, the list of, in order for him to qualify so that he can be on the ballot as a Democrat. So I was the one that counted the votes, not the votes, the signatures for New York.
That's huge.
That was a lot of work, a lot of hours, and so many details. And I wasn't the only one. It was just like a handful of people that we really trusted, and we gathered all those. We counted everything, we turned it in to the Secretary of State, and then they changed the rules on us.
Oh, great!
They totally changed the rules on us, and we're like, "How is that fair?" How is that fair?
What was the rule that they changed?
Oh, don't even let me get into it. But that's when we decided, okay, well, then we're going to run as an independent. But in our hearts, we know that he would have won.
Yeah.
In my heart, I know he would have won.
He's such a big candidate, and I actually just want to touch on his character a little bit, because I met Kennedy briefly it was for a picture, right? I went up to him and I had a little mission because I had texted a few of my friends and I was like, I'm going to meet Kennedy tonight, because it was for, I think it was a Black Heritage event in somewhere around LA. And I went up to him for the picture and I said, my friend, he really, really loves you. He couldn't be here, but he really wants to. So I'm just telling you that. And he's like, thank you so much for the support. Let me take a video. And he grabs I didn't even ask him to take a video for him. And so he delivered a message to both my friends and said, hey, thank you so much for your support. And that personally told me a lot about his character, the fact that he was willing to talk to these people, and they were both young people, and I think that says a lot. But how's your experience been with the Kennedys?
Well, like I said, I've known the Kennedys since 1991, and it's a long story, but it's a good friendship. And at that Black History Month event, I think I know what you're talking about. It was a very special event because it was a Black History Month, and it was very important for Bobby to be there, and he was very happy to be there. And I was there along with other Team Kennedy volunteers and members and so forth. And I was so happy because my friend Bill Duke, the actor, the film director and producer, who's been in a lot of movies, he was in a film with... Well, he was in a lot of films, okay? And he endorsed Bobby, and I was so happy. And he was there. Bill Duke was there. And actually, we took a picture with Bill Duke also. Bill Duke was in that film. Anyway, but he's an excellent actor. But for Bill Duke to endorse Bobby in an event for the African American community, that says a lot.
That does.
That says a lot.
It does. Now, talking about your grassroots, I mean, you've participated a lot in different candidates. I know you've done local candidates, like, for example, Benny Bernal. You did that. And from Kennedy, I want to know, what are some of the other people that you've helped politically?
Okay. Well, not only myself, but my family, because like I said, I come from a very large family, and we do consider us nerdy or whatever, but we do get we sit in a table, all of us, and we vote, because not all of us, not all of us agree on the same thing. They're like, who did you say you're going to endorse, or who did you say you're going to support? Like, wait a second. And then we talk about it, and then we do take a vote. So I helped out from the very beginning Antonio Villaraigosa when nobody knew him, and he was running for a state assembly. And guess what? He won. Yeah. Then my family and we helped him for when he ran for mayor, and guess what? He won. We also helped Bob Hertzberg. Back then he was senator, and we helped him, and he won. And look at now, we helped Bobby, and he is in a good position.
He is.
I helped Benny Bernal. I trust Benny 100%. That's a person with integrity. That's why when he was running for office, I endorsed him, because I know that if there's anybody that has a good heart and that's going to help the community, it's him. Okay, and I'm very picky, and that's why I endorsed him. And I'm glad to say that he's my friend, because he's a good friend. Yeah. Yeah.
And a Latino who was in the fields as well.
Yes. Yeah. And talking about the fields, the documentary, the mini documentary that we're working on, it's going to start. How California was formed, because a lot of people don't know how California was formed. Do you know how California was formed? Do you?
My husband just explained it to me.
You're like, I just got taught this right now.
Yeah. So see, and that's why it's important that we do this mini documentary, because people need to understand how California was formed. Yeah. And then from there, we're going to transition to the event that I organized at the candidate event at the San Fernando Valley, because we had a community meeting and everybody was confused. There were so many ballot measures, and it was a time where people were different candidates for presidency. different, issues, and everybody, and then people were getting bombarded with so many mailers, and vote for me, and you get confused. So that's why we ended up doing the candidate forum event, which is a huge success. So with that documentary, it's going to start with forming in California, the population growth, and then we're going to put in video of the candidate event that took place in the city of San Fernando, because a lot of people are going to be seeing this video, and it's not only people from Los Angeles, but people from all over the world. Okay, because people believe it or not, people don't know where. I mean, somebody in Alaska has no clue where the city of San Fernando is, or for that matter, Pacoima, California. Okay, so there's so many, and we're going to include a video. That I asked Bobby to record a video in Spanish and in English for the voters that attended the candidate forum, and he did, which was amazing, because people don't know that Bobby knows how to speak Spanish. People don't know. And then I asked the Mexican government, the new president of Mexico, to send us record a message for the audience, and she did. And I have that. Hello.
Well, Claudia, she sent it?
Claudia Scheinbaum,
wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's so amazing. I can't wait to watch that. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
I have two back-to-back questions. So how much did Maha, how did it make you support Bobby Kennedy? Was it just like a part of it, or was it like a driving part? Was Maha a driving part of your support for Bobby Kennedy?
Maha is something that all of us, we already were supportive of before that, because we're all about eating healthy. Okay, I mean, I'm all about eating organic, growing your own food, your own vegetables. I mean, if it's I'm totally against pesticides. I mean, it's healthy as possible. Okay, so it was only natural for those of us, who were already helping in the campaign, and just to go and support Bobby, because right now it's important that we make America healthy again. That's very important.
Would you say that the food and the organic eating is probably the highest thing on Maha? Because I also know it also had to do with issues with vaccines and, this gender-affirming care and just pharmaceuticals in general. And everything
in general, because it doesn't matter if you want to divide one thing or the other. Everything is attached to one thing, and, everything, But at the end of the day, it's just, we want everybody healthy.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Amen, yeah. Yeah. Have you heard anything recent on Maha and the movements, or like the stuff that's happening?
Well, right now, what we're like I said, I invited the volunteers outside. They're over here listening. They're part of Maha, and just because Bobby just was confirmed and now he's on the cabinet doesn't mean that the movement is over. This is something that we must continue, because we have to focus on. We've got to get more. We got to get healthier people on this planet.
Right.
Okay, we don't want sick people with diabetes. We don't want people dying of cancer. Okay, we've got to all work together and live a healthy life on this planet, because we all breathe, and share the same air.
It's true, and I think it's very important, because it helps shape the next generations, especially who's going to inherit the country. And if we have people who are sick who are inheriting the country, it does not make a strong country. So I think that's important. Yeah. But I also wanted to touch on a couple other things as well. I don't know if you had anything else. No, you're good. Okay.
I was just thinking about other health issues. I was like, I don't need to go down that tangent right now. Anyway.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So I think that you've done a lot in the activism realm. One of the things that I did notice when I was researching a little bit was you did comment on the Me Too movement. There was one article, actually I found a couple articles, where you had said you'd called for one of the congressmen to step down because he was allegedly in some type of thing. And we all know the Me Too movement was very big. Yeah, so I just wanted to know, what was your experience with that?
I know personally of 7 women who were victims of sexual harassment and sexual assault. Now that, in law firms, in the political arena. And I sat down again. My investigative journalism said, go and sit down and talk to them and hear them out. And I did. And after I listened to their story, I started to cry.
Wow.
I started to cry because I was so upset that something like this was taking place and they were not being listened to. They were not being listened to. Now it goes both ways, for men and women, right? But in this situation, it was women, and so I was invited to a meeting to talk about this big problem, this elephant in the room that everybody knew what was happening, but they didn't know. Okay, and there's young people that want to get in the industry, want to be in the industry, they want to become actors and whatever, But there's also awful things that take place, and no one should have to go through that ever in anyone's life. Okay, so then that's when I decided, okay, fine. They said, well, we're planning a march. And I said, well, listen, I don't participate in rallies. I don't participate in any kind of anarchy. I don't know. If it's a peaceful march, I'll do it, but that's it. We're no chaos or anything. And it turned out to be a very peaceful march. And I was able to sit down with other women and I talked to them about their story. And all I could do was just cry because I felt so bad because I'm like, what can I do? I mean, I don't, you can't change the past, but it's like, what can I do? And so the best thing that I could do was just, okay, here's the message, If a woman tells you, and that doesn't have to be a woman, also a guy, no is no. No is no. Respect that.
Yeah. And you know what, I think that was such an interesting time because we had a lot of allegations come out. And I want to know for you, I think that sometimes it's very tricky in these movements since it was so popular. But we saw the case like Johnny Depp, where he was accused of not necessarily the Me Too sort of situation, but it was more of like a domestic violence situation. Is it always is it like first you always believe the woman or you do investigative journalism? I know that you personally went and you investigated it.
This is what I learned. When a person tells you that something happened to them, believe them. Because it takes a lot of guts and a lot of strength for that human being to speak out because they already feel guilt. They feel like it's their fault already, Yeah. And you would be helping that person to heal. Don't ever judge.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that in a lot of cases I have heard that survivors have had a lot of guilt because they believe it's their fault. In reality, it really isn't. But I had a question. Did you have something right now?
Well, I just, I have personal experiences with the Me Too movement too. And I was at one of these marches. I was at the one in 2016 that was like huge, like 500,000 people there and the hats and everything. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You care about my opinion right now, but
it's very simple. It's very simple. We've got to, respect. Of course, there's going to be, bad apples out there. But when somebody, tells you, or if they feel like they can trust you, and they tell you what happened, this was what I learned. Believe them.
Yeah,
because it takes a lot for them to.
Yeah. I think in the political realm, it's very tricky too because. Many of them may not want to speak out because people are in a position of power. And have you ever heard of have women come to you saying that they were afraid to speak out because
a lot,
candidates?
A lot. But this not only happens in the entertainment industry, it happens in law firms.
It happens everywhere. Yeah,
everywhere.
It happens just for no reason.
Yeah. And but now that we all know about it, now we know exactly how to handle it.
Yeah, I think it was definitely like the first wave of social media getting a hold of it. But I think issues of like rape and sexual assault and that kind of stuff, I mean, that's a tale as old as time, right? It's just like how we handle it is always different.
I was on the way over here with my friend, and I had to take a Tylenol. I was so upset because another friend called me and she said she was also upset because in the news they found the body of a little boy. And I was, and then she told me the details, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
What happened? What were the parents doing? Where were the parents? Okay. And it's like, and he was a coach. Didn't they vet? Didn't they do a background check? Why would I mean, it's,
So many questions.
Yeah. And so, there's a lot of things that I mean, we need legislation, period. We have more protection, again, for things that happen like that, as far as, sexual assault, sexual abuse, whatever, stuff like that, incest, and also for those that are these predators, that are looking for victims.
Right. Yeah. I think that personally for me, I like to watch a lot of true crime, so I think that these are personally for me. I think that today we've seen a lot of attention on those things, which I think is better, because now people are more aware and they're aware of their surroundings and are able to be protective of themselves, and I think that's amazing. But I think that with you, it's amazing that you were able to take this situation and also use your voice, because you did have a position where you were able to speak out about it. And so that's really amazing. I think that sometimes we don't know what to do, but using our voice is sometimes the best thing to do.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was back in 2017 is when the president of the Mexican consulate, they gave me a call, and they asked me to go over there, and they gave me they put me on the committee, on the women's committee, because of that, because I had to go and help, because it's and educate and the women, the Hispanic women, on this topic, okay, because this type of abuse, also happens in the Hispanic community.
No, of course, yeah.
Okay, and many women, sadly, they're still machismo.
Yes.
Okay, and and that we can't allow that. We cannot allow that. And so the president of the Mexican consulate, called me, and they invited me, and then they put me on the committee, and I worked very hard in promoting a very simple word: respect. Respect. I learned from that, because I learned the Mexican consulate has special programs where they help the community, whether it be for immigration, whether it be whatever it be, and they were able to create a special program for victims, and I had the opportunity to sit down and talk to them. And even if I just sit down and talk to them and give them a hug or a kiss, or I sit down and cry with them, it helps. It helps because most of the time it's good therapy for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I know this is probably going to be brutal, but since we're still talking about this, I really think that it's the responsibility of women, as traumatized as they may be. I feel like it's their responsibility to go to the authorities and, maybe bring a friend. I wish that court systems were a little more sensitive and stuff. I myself was, it's kind of a 180 shift moment since we're talking about this, but I myself was interviewed in a room for like hours and hours, and these detectives were just hounding me on every little detail, and I was 17 at the time, and I just I completely broke down, and my case got shelved away. But it was like I think the infrastructure is a bit broken right now. Like, there should be like a counselor or some like mom-like person who comes in and realizes that there's like a traumatized person and that person needs to be, comforted while also questioned. But that being said, I still think it's the responsibility of a woman, if something like that happens to you, you have to say something immediately. And it minimizes the battle that you will face, because if somebody does something wrong like this to you, and then you wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then let's see that person suddenly becomes a successful business owner, or maybe you see this guy on the news now, and then you'd make that decision then to out what happened to you, it's unwise in my opinion. It reminds me of like To Kill a Mockingbird. You have to really think about how you're presenting yourself. And that's just my message to all women, is even if you are in the most amount of pain, just think of it as you are saving the next victim, and just go through and that's why I just say we just need God. We need the comfort and the strength of God in those situations, because with the Me Too movement, I feel like everything moved online. So it was like someone could say out there, predator, from the comfort and the privacy of their own home, and it might seem safe and convenient, but I don't think that was necessarily the wise way to handle it, because I also saw during the launch of the Me Too movement and the years following, I watched my brother out someone who one of his girlfriends said was a predator, and it turned out to not only not really be true, but it was like she also was a predator herself. And so my brother got involved with this whole movement, and it was like the damage that he did to that young man's life. It reminds me of To Kill a Mockingbird. Like, you just completely drag someone's name through the sludge. And in a case like that, that's why we need a trial. Everyone deserves a fair trial, and canceling people just on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, I just don't think it's American, But anyway, I know that's probably controversial, but that's just my opinion.
No, but I just want to let you know that I hear what you're saying, okay? And I agree, but at the same time I want to let you know that whatever you experienced, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, okay? But guess what? You're here. You're in a positive, good space. You're surrounded by beautiful human beings. And guess what? You're moving forward.
Yeah, amen. Yeah. And I'm also glad that you're very strong with your religion. Yeah.
In your beliefs, because at the end of the day, that's if a person needs to, whatever they believe in, okay, but know that that you're here for a reason, and know that you're doing the best that you can.
Yeah. Amen.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we always believe, is you're here for a reason. Everything you do, and that's why sometimes I know some of my friends come to me and they're like, what I don't know what to do, and I'm like, okay, what's happening right now? You're meant to go through it.
Yeah.
And so it's moving forward.
That's good advice, bro.
No, it really is, and that's really what Gina's saying. So it's really good advice, and I kind of wanted to move on. I mean,
I know.
Kind of a sad topic. It's okay.
I know.
No, but it's necessary.
Don't be embarrassed. I mean, listen, we're having a conversation. These are important things that we have to talk about, because
it is.
This is important. Okay, and we can't shy away from these type of conversations. Okay, or else how else are we going to find solutions?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and like I said, you guys are very good role models, and that's why I always help out. And if I don't have time, I find a way. And if I get invited, somewhere or to an event or even to this interview, I invite other people, because things don't get done alone. You've got to learn how to, or know and learn how to share with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why I ended up, I think it was 5 years or 6 years that I produced and I directed the Pacoima Christmas Parade. I mean, I had to because I saw that the streets over there, they were blighted streets. And I'm like, how is this possible? That you've got fancy streets in Beverly Hills, and then you get to Pacoima, and you got blighted streets. I was just like, how could this be possible? Okay, so I mean, and how did I get involved with the Pacoima Christmas Parade? Let me tell you, I was minding my own business when back then there was a publicist. She was the publicist for Francesco Quinn, who is no longer here on this earth. He passed away, but he was the son of the Mexican actor Anthony Quinn.
Oh,
yeah. And so his publicist was working for him, and then he passed away, and then she was without a job, and so I hired her. And because I said to myself, if Francesco trusts her, then I can trust her. So she came and she said, Gina, you know, the people in Pacoima, they're organizing a tribute to Richie Valens in Pacoima. And the first thing that came out of my mouth, I was like, what's a Pacoima? I swear. I was like, what's a Pacoima? And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. I had to do my research on Pacoima. And then she said, yeah, but they're organizing a tribute for Richie Valens, and they don't know what they're doing. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? She said, well, you know, it's a tribute, and they're doing this, da, 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 da. And I said, well, okay, well, did they invite the actors from the film La Bamba? And she said, no. I said, you guys are organizing an event for Richie Valens, and you guys, you know, the film La Bamba, and you guys haven't invited the actors in the film? So what I did is I called my friend Isai Morales, the actor in the film La Bamba. I called Rosana. I called Lou. They were busy because they're working on other projects, but I was able to get a hold of Isai. I went to go pick him up at his house, and I took him to Pacoima for the event. I invited also Danny Trejo, and it was a huge success. And everybody was singing all, you know, the Richie Valens songs, because everybody knows the film La Bamba, right? And when I saw the faces of the little kids sitting on the curb, because I didn't know that there was projects in Pacoima. I didn't know. And I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, how is it that we have projects here? I mean, it's like, no. And so I saw the kids sitting in the curb when I organized the parade. And I can see them. They were waving and waving, and then some of the celebrities were throwing candies, and they were picking up the candies, and I said to myself, these kids, we have to help these kids. We have to help them. There's a lot of poverty there, and because if we can, I said to myself, if we can have the Hollywood Christmas Parade, why can't we not have the Pacoima Christmas Parade?
Mm-hmm. What was that quote from Cesar Chavez that you said earlier?
Oh, when he told me, he says, you see those people over there? Those are your people. Do whatever you can to help your people. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah. That's like a full circle moment for you.
That's
right
all
there.
I can do. I mean, I don't know what. For
all of us.
For all of us. That's right.
Yeah. And another thing that I did was I also helped them with the how you call it, the when they needed the bicycles. You know, a lot of kids, they were just happy just to get a bicycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To get a gift. That's really beautiful. You know, that's so interesting. I didn't even know that they had the Hollywood. I know the Hollywood Christmas Parade, but not the Pacoima Christmas Parade.
Well, you know, the Hollywood Christmas Parade, the celebrities, they get paid to go over there and participate.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the celebrities that I invited, you know, I would call them. I said, listen here. You're not going to get paid. If you're going to help the community, come and help the community and support the community. All right. And they showed up. And I said, listen, and who else do you think that can come and participate? I had celebrities coming from Mexico.
Wow.
Okay, to participate. Okay, there was anyway, the list goes on and the list goes on.
Yeah.
But if there's one person that goes out of their way to really, really help the community, it would be also my friend Danny Trejo. I mean, Danny would. I mean, he walks around in Pacoima like he owns Pacoima. Okay, and I thank him because I know he's busy, but he knows what grassroots is all about. He knows what grassroots is all about, and the little kids, they look up to him also.
Yeah, I think so. I think I grew up with him in the movies. Was it Spy Kids? I love those movies so much, and so I remember those ones. But he's really great. I know everybody knows him for his tacos and all of his stuff. So no, he's really great. You know, when you're talking about Pacoima, one of the things that I think is very important about it is there's actually this is a little tangent here. There's an airport there that's called the Whiteman Airport.
The Whiteman Airport.
And it's so important because there's so many programs there that actually help the community, help them learn how to fly, help the children learn how to build airplanes and go into engineering, things that are so amazing that, you know, I think is a great opportunity for the children there.
Well, I've been there, and I've spoken to the people that run that place, and I've spoken to the parents, and that place for the parents is very important because if we can find places to get kids out of trouble, that's a very good place. Yep. We need more kids to learn how to fly. If they want to become pilots, okay, let's send them to Whiteman Airport. You know, that program is an excellent program. Okay, any program that helps kids, you know. My aunt used to say, any kid that has too much time on their hands, that's not good.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's not good. Keep them busy.
Yeah, no, and you know, actually, my very first time inside of an airplane and flying was at Whiteman.
Aw.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice thing. So it's really important to the community there.
But you know, just really quickly, so I really appreciate, like the hopeful message that you shared, especially to our generation earlier. And I also, before I hand it off to Ellie, I also wanted to point out too, you know, just kind of wrapping up my thoughts on the Me Too movement. My message to women my age and older and young, like just all women, is just to really always keep your head on a swivel. Because if you don't want to be a victim in the Me Too movement, you have to always you just have to keep your head on a swivel all the time. You always have to be, you just have to be full of discernment because even in a room of your best friends, the enemy will try to target you. So I guess that's just what I wanted to say to wrap up my little opinion back there.
It's okay. You know, everything that you say is also important. You know, you know, you've got to if you think that it's not important, it's important. Okay. I never poo-poo on anybody, you know, I don't, because that's not right.
No,
I really don't. You're not going to find me putting down people. No, because that's not helpful. That's not helpful. Good, yeah. But, you know, but at the end of the day, like I said, we all breathe and share the same air, and we have to find a way to get along.
Yeah.
You know? That's a bottom line. Right now, we've got elections, you know, for governor.
Yes.
Okay? That's got me worried.
Oh,
I mean, that's
tell
got
us
me
about that.
Oh
Quick
my
tangent.
gosh, that worries me.
Micro-tangent.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, that worries me. I'll tell you one thing for sure, and I'll say it: I am not voting for Gavin Newsom. I am not voting for Gavin Newsom.
Ditto.
I'm very disappointed, extremely upset. I have a lot of friends that are just. I mean, there's a lot of things here that are happening in California. The economy is not good. I mean, there's just so many things. You know, how about the money for the homeless? What happened to the money for the homeless?
Right.
It disappeared. It disappeared. Where is it? We've got more homeless. We've got
thousands more.
Yeah,
just in this year.
If I were governor, I never will be, you know. But if like in my little head, if I were governor, the first thing that you know what I would do, I don't care who or tells what, I'm going to pick up every single person that's in that street, you know, whether they want to or not. Pick them up and put them in a place where they can get treatment, because they're in the streets either because they suffer from mental illness or because they're addicted to drugs. Okay, we've got because by us allowing them to just sleep on the streets, or allowing them to sleep in a tent with the excuse of compassion. Well, compassion is not going to help them. We've got to, because they're suffering, and the only way that we can find it, you know, we can fix that is if we get them out, you know, like go up to them and say, listen, you know, we're going to help you. We're going to, you know, put you in this center. And I understand, you know, they can say no because, you know, they're adults, but at the same time, how is that helping them? They're not thinking straight. Yeah. Okay, and so I think the governor should, you know, any governor that's going to be running for governor, any candidate that's going to be running for governor, that's my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Okay, because that and what's going to happen with the people that lost their homes. You know, there's a lot of politicians. There's a lot of politicians out there that they promise this and they promise that, and then what happened? And they don't do anything. Okay, right now, all these politicians, they're getting paid. They're receiving a paycheck, and they go home to a nice home. And what about the people that lost their homes?
Yeah. And you know what's so interesting is we have so many different candidates coming into this race. And I think that very much shows that we have a lack of leadership currently. The fact that so many people think, oh, I think I have the solutions for the problem. Although there's a lot of them. And many of them probably not the best. Mm-hmm. But I want to know for you, what are you looking in a candidate? What are some of the qualities that you're looking for when you're going to select the next governor?
Integrity. Not too many people have that. Integrity. Right. Integrity. Not too many people have it. Honesty. And we need to stop voting this way. We need to stop voting for the first this, the first that, the first, no. We need to vote, okay, what did this person do? What's their background? What have they accomplished? What did they really accomplish? Did they keep their promises? We've got to vote that way.
Right. Looking at the history, researching the candidates that come up.
Research.
Yeah.
Research.
So important. And what's sad is I think that a lot of people, I've ran into some people where I asked them, okay, so how do you vote? And they're like, well, I actually voted because they have the best name and that's how I voted. Are you kidding me? No, not because they have the best name. You have to research them. And I think that this is so important right now because whoever's going to be the next governor has to clean up whatever's happening or they're going to continue to make it worse. Mm-hmm. Because we've been underneath Gavin Newsom that has absolutely destroyed this place. Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%, and I'm glad that you guys have a brain on your head because, let's think logically. And let's vote logically.
Yeah, very simple. Just be logical, research. It's very simple to do, I think.
And I think that kind of leads into your message to Gen Z and your message to maybe just anyone who's like basically under 30. That's like, which, yeah.
Yeah. No. You know what's so interesting too is I've also seen people saying Kamala Harris wants to come in. So that's a fun one. Tara's like, nah.
No.
Kamala, don't you?
No. Because they had already the opportunity to fix the problems. And they did not fix anything.
Yeah.
They did not fix anything. okay? And right now what we need is people that can fix, that can solve, that can do, and that will keep their promise.
Yeah.
We're not in a position anymore to give people a chance over here. No. It's like, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it?
And we need to fix this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And I think that we should be starting to wrap up soon because we're getting later, but that's okay. We've had a great conversation. I want to know, let's talk about Gen Z just for real quick, right? Very important. You talked earlier about how in the future Gen Zs, it's predicted that they will be hopefully inheriting a great country and a good life. I just wanted to see from your perspective, looking down on Gen Z, what do you expect us? How do you expect us to turn out?
I expect the Gen Z to be the smartest, the most prepared, the most honest, the most loving generation in this world. That's what I expect. And it'll happen. And it'll happen because you guys are in a position and you guys will eventually have the power to improve the world.
So you think we'll one day be able to get there?
We're going to get there.
Yeah.
We're going to get there. We've got to think positive. We're going to get there.
Yeah. Positively thinking.
And it starts today.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions about Gen Z?
No.
No? Okay. I have one final question then.
Sure.
I want to know, what is your, big piece of advice to Gen Z? And it can be about anything, whether it's like future, job, life, whatever it is.
Start your own business.
Oh, I like that.
Start your own business. Don't wait for anybody to hire you. Start your own business.
There you go. Yeah. Be, what is it? I'm trying to look for a word.
So good they can't ignore you.
Yes. There you go. So good. Yeah. No, be an entrepreneur. Be somebody who's already ahead of the game.
See a problem, solve the problem.
That's exactly
There
right.
you go. You see? Yeah, you're catching on. There you go.
There you go. And I think that we've had such a great night today.
No, thank you for the invitation, and I'm so sorry that you guys invited me. I think last year, and then I'm here, and I'm happy that you invited me, and I'm proud of you guys, and keep up the good work.
No, thank you so much. I think that today I've had a lovely time. I think I've learned a lot, especially seeing your life and being able to see that you actually did what Cesar Chavez told you to do.
Yeah.
And you did it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's amazing. And I think that
I'm going to continue to do it.
There you go. And I think everybody should continue to take that as an inspiration for your own life. And thank you so much, Gina, for coming on.
Thank you, and God bless both of you, and God bless your family.
Thank you.
And God bless everybody that's watching.
Thank you so much. Did you have any social media?
No, because of security and privacy.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought so. I couldn't find anything. Yes. I was like, I couldn't find
the
anything.
last thing I knew.
Oh, we
That's
so
perfectly
appreciate you
fine.
being here, and thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Roll the outro. Roll the outro.